Alright, welcome back to the channel. I have no idea where this video is going to go yet, but it's time to do some science experiments. So, what I wanted to do, as I think I mentioned in a previous episode, is do some etching. So this one was done with just some 9-volt battery and salt water and some cables, and it did work. However, what I have over yonder is a little bit more experiment type stuff, i.e. hydrochloric acid and baking soda for neutralizing it and hydrogen peroxide for making it worse. It's a whole science experiment thing. So what I want to do is I want to try and etch some various pieces of metal. I got various thicknesses, so we got the thinnest stuff, which is, I don't even know, I don't have my gauge nearby, but it's thin. And then we got what looks to be about 1/4 inch or a little bit less, and then actual 1/4 inch right there. But in order to do this, I need these to be clean. So I'm going to time lapse this real quick while I grind these to a shiny finish. Okay, so now that we're back from all of that, so the way I understand it, also, before I forget, so I cleaned this up a little bit. Let's see how well this actually shows on there. But yeah, you can kind of still see, if I can see my camera, which would be nice. There we go. Yeah, that it's, that still shows up. That's after hitting it with a grinder. So that metal etching technique with just the 9-volt batteries, it definitely works. I'm not, I think, going to demonstrate how to do that, but I can go over it really, really quickly without doing it, I think. So all you do is, in like a little container, you just mix up some salt water, and that's it. You can then take a Q-tip, dip the Q-tip in the water, have one of these on positive, one of these on negative, all right? The positive one, connect it to the actual piece that you want to etch, i.e. I've got red for positive. If this gator clip will cooperate, there we go. So you would connect the red one like so to the piece. This one you would connect to the head of a Q-tip. Now that Q-tip, that head that you have this connected to, dip that in the salt water solution, and then you can literally just etch anything. So you put it on the metal and it'll burn through where you put it. The reason this looks like this is because I took literally some Scotch tape from my desk drawer and I made a little really garbage stencil that looked like that. But as you can see, it definitely worked and it definitely etched it into the metal. So that's that. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'll answer the questions. But it's really, really easy. Other videos are out there on how to do it as well, so those are handy. But that's it for that. So now on to the more dangerous, more interesting one. So what I'm doing, I think, is, so I've got this thin piece that I've cleaned up on both sides. It doesn't have to be mirror for what I'm trying to do. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could do that. I would probably recommend polishing it beforehand, just because I feel like it'd be easier than trying to polish it after the acid has already done its job. But I don't actually know, because it's my first time doing this. So this is going to be my little thin test piece just to figure it out. And then I've got a couple of other thicker pieces like I've mentioned. So I don't know that I'm going to mess with this one just yet, because I still kind of like that actually worked for the electric one. We'll look at it later. Then I have this, which is, like I said, a little bit thinner piece, or I'm sorry, a little bit thicker piece than this little guy. So I got these two. This one, it's got a smoother side and a slightly rougher side that I didn't hit with the same amount of stuff. I just want to see the difference between like a pretty pitted surface and a much smoother surface, and if there's really a huge difference in the edge anyway. And then I've got the big thick boy, and this one it's still hot from grinding it because I hit it with sandpaper. It's got a lot of, you could probably see them in the light. Yeah, it's got a lot of like grooves and little edges on it. This one's not cleaned up hardly at all, and it's the thickest piece, so I want to kind of see. I'm going to leave them for, once I actually get this solution mixed up and figure out what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave them for probably, I don't know, 5 minutes to start, see where they look, and add time as necessary. I'm just trying to get a gauge. This is steel, obviously, so it's going to be a little bit different than my my application of aluminum, but I feel like I'll get some kind of an idea. It's not going to eat that much faster on other stuff. It'll probably still be 15-20 minute process would be my guess, unless I want a deeper etch. So in the meantime, so I think what you do, and I'm going to Google this again after I'm done talking here, but basically you mix this is muriatic acid, which is basically just hydrochloric acid functionally. So you mix this, I think it's 1 part this, and I'll pop a correction if I'm wrong, but 1 part this with 2 parts this little guy, hydrogen peroxide, I think is how this works. I don't know what it actually does. I believe it just makes the reaction work gooder. Very scientific terms for gooder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix those up in this little guy. I've got some stickers that I'm going to apply to these, and then once I've got this mixed, I'm obviously going to have gloves for all of this because I don't trust myself, nor do I trust acid particularly. But I'm going to mix it all up in that ratio, and then I'm going to spray it over top of the stickers that I'm using. I'm also probably going to mask off some areas, or duct tape in this case off some areas that I don't want to get anything on, to see how hard it is to keep the hydrochloric acid off of stuff that you're not trying to etch. Because that kind of matters. If you don't want to etch parts of the engine, you really need to be able to protect them. The reason I'm not soaking any of this is because I just don't want to deal with a pool of this crap. The other way I have seen to do this is you basically tape this to a piece of styrofoam and then float the styrofoam on the thing. What that does is it allows, as the acid is eating away at the metal, it's not just sitting on top of it, the actual metal that it's eating falls off and falls to the bottom of the container that you have it in. You can do it in a relatively shallow one. I just don't feel like doing that right now. That might be a test for future me if this doesn't work the way I want it to. So for right now, I think I'm going to pause while I mix everything up. That way, if I have to run to the hospital because I've, I don't know, put acid in my eyes for some stupid reason, I don't have to worry about dealing with a camera. So I will be back. We're back after a little bit of prep work. So I'm thinking, so right here, my wife has a Cricut. So I printed off some stickers. If you don't get the Circle R, don't worry about it. It's an inside joke with some of my friends, as well as part of a Vigvisir thing. So this one's just to see how complex and how accurately it follows the stencil, as well as to see, probably can't see it, there's some little screw-ups because I was just very quickly wrapping this thing around because I don't really care about precision on these as much, but I do want to see what it does when there's like a corner that's pulled up or whatever, so I can kind of see if there's things that need to be really, that I need to be careful with or not. And so that's the medium one, and then again, this little guy has the Circle R on it as well. Actually, I need to pull the transfer sticker off. There we go. Now it can actually get to the thing it needs to get to. So, I got the 2 circle bars and the Vegas here. That should do it as far as my testing shapes go. So what I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer you, boop, to the GoPro right there. And there's the GoPro. Sweet. Okay, so because I'm going to be mixing chemicals and I don't really want to get this on me, I'm going to put this up here, kind of pointing down at what I'm doing. And then we'll kind of go from there. I'm not actually sure how this is going to go down, but like I said before, I've got my acid, I've got my hydrogen peroxide as well, and then my stuff that I'm stenciling. So the way I understand it, it's 2 parts this, 1 part this. So I'm going to do that real quick after I get some gloves and probably something to cover my face, because I hear that you're not supposed to smell that, or at least not stand directly over it when you're doing stuff. I've also got a fan over that way that I will turn on if it gets gross, but for right now I'm just trying to not have it on because it's very loud and hard to hear the camera if it's going. So let's get to it. I think I'm actually, I'm tempted to mix it in this, to be honest, because reasons. I don't know if I'll do that or not. I also have this, which is, don't worry, Kelly, I bought a new one. This one's not one of ours from the kitchen. I think I'll just mix this for right now. Actually, I can do 2. Because one of them I want to try and brush on, and then I think the other one is the one that I want to try and do the spray on for. Because you can do either, and I kind of want to test both. If I can find literally any of my painting things and or tools. Oh, I almost forgot. I also wanted to put some tape on these to see how protected they need to be against stuff. So I'll be right back. Hold one. And we are back. Went and grabbed some painter's tape. I don't know if this will be sufficient to protect it. Hopefully it will, if I can find an edge. Good enough. All right, so here he's done. He's gonna stay. There. Okay, so now that we've done that and wasted a bunch of time, this tape on here is just to kind of see how protected it's going to be. This one over here is just gonna see how dark it gets everything all at once. Yep, I think that'll be a decent enough test. So, let's see here. I think I'm gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna go up to a half with the hydrogen peroxide and, yeah, muriatic acid after that. So, let's give this a shot. I am not going to get anywhere near smelling that stuff. So, there is your acid etch. So, I think what I'm going to start with is some kind of a brush. I don't know. Something. But now you're going to have to go just based off of visuals, because I'm about to turn on the fan so that I'm not smelling any of this. So, time to go for just audio, or just video. Unless you can still hear me. If you can still hear me, great. Perks and bonuses and whatnot. There we go. Got a little brush. So I think I'm going to brush. I don't know which one of these I'm going to brush. I think I'll probably brush this center one, and then this guy, and then I'll spray this guy. I can already see it doing stuff. You can see right here. I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in on that or not, but it is for sure eating into that. So now I'm curious. This is probably not the approved solution, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Ugh. Whew. Okay. Now that I've done that, I'm going to run off, leave this thing recording while I run off and figure out how to neutralize this when it's all done. So, I'll be right back. Okay, so we're sort of back. The GoPro turned itself off because it got too hot. Hopefully it didn't have anything to do with what we're doing here. But what I did was I transferred this guy out of just sitting here, and I'm now letting him actually sit in the mixture right there just to see if that does anything to improve things. They've been sitting here for about 20 minutes so far, give or take. And I'm going to come back through here and add another layer and leave this sit for about another 15 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's really digging in hardcore on these. I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in on it, but this one is bubbling, and I know this one's doing some stuff, but I'm not sure how hard it's actually digging in because of the percentage on here, which is 31%. So I'm gonna keep leaving it sit and leaving it to do its thing. This does seem to be working a little bit better. I can see bubbles coming out of it, and yeah. So I'm gonna see if this is the better solution, to just leave it immersed in the thing. Like I said before, you can actually soak it or let it sit in a fluid upside down, which is sort of what I'm doing with this, just a little less scientific. So we'll be back. This thing will probably freeze, but if it doesn't, time lapse again. Okay, so we're back, I think, on this, assuming it hasn't stopped recording. It is not. Hey, but it's almost dead. So I think you can tell already from looking at this just how much it has eaten away since I set it in there. So this one, you'll notice, is a lot darker and a lot more eaten away. So what I think I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to leave that guy in here. I've got to go do some stuff, but I'm going to leave that one in there and let it keep eating away. And I think I'm going to do the same to these, and I will clean them when I get home. But because that's going to be a long process and I don't need to record all of it, I'm going to come back later, back on that camera, once I get that done. So I will see you later. We are back from our little excursion. So I think what we're at now is these have had a chance to soak, I think, for a decent amount of time. Not super long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab them, I'm going to take them over to the hose, I'm going to rinse them off real quick, and then we'll see where we're at. I've got a sneaky suspicion this is going to be the best one, obviously, because it's been soaking and it's been sitting in there. So I think it'll be the best one. These ones, I'm not even convinced that they actually etched all that deep, but we'll see. It could just be that because it was sitting on top, it doesn't work as well, and you actually do kind of need to immerse them at least to some degree. If that's the case, okay, that's good to know, because I'm going to have to go buy test aluminum to see how it reacts to doing that, because what I don't know that I can do is immerse the entire head, or at least part of the head, i.e. the face that I want to etch, in acid. I don't know that I want to get that much acid around. So I'm going to pause for just a second while I go and clean these up, and then we'll come back when we're peeling off stickers. Be right back. Okay, we're back. I think we're still messing, though, with some fairly gnarly chemicals. So, where's my X-Acto knife? So we're going to peel these off pretty carefully and see where we're at. I'm actually going to zoom in because I don't need to see me for this. Alright. So... Okay, so, final verdict, I think. Cleaned up the different pieces, and that's in order of worst to best. So, this guy, this was the one that had the Vigvaseer on it. As you can see, now that I've polished it, it is gone. So, all that was just surface stuff. It came right off with a die grinder with a little... paint remover wheel. So, wasn't in that deep at all. Honestly, the electro etch worked even better than that. So, good to know, because this took 5 minutes. This took like 2 hours to not succeed in the way that I did it. Let me be clear that I think that the reason that it didn't work is because it wasn't suspended the way that this one was. Which brings me to the next one. So this one, I don't know if I'll be able to get this on camera, but the R is still there, even after I polished it up. You can yeah, it's very, very hard to see it, but it is still there. So, that's neat. There is a huge moth that just flew into my garage. It's the size of a bird. Look at this thing. Look at that. It's huge! Anyway, I will go deal with that thing here in a moment without my gloves on. That's a Luna moth. That's cool. Okay, anyway, back to work, sort of. And then the most goodliest of the three, which is this one. So, that's what I think I'm going to do, is I'm going to try this whole process again, suspending them in the fluid. But, that will be a test for a later time. And a later me. So, thanks for joining, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.